Addict's Ultimate Strategy Guide. I was gonna do a video on mid-game strategy, uh, but I think a better approach to doing to that would be to actually do somewhat of a playthrough. I'm not gonna include, every every section of the game. I think that would get too long and too boring. Uh, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna include the beginning because there's a lot of important decisions that need to be uh, talked about there, and then after that I'm going to focus on the middle of the game and some of the thinking process that needs to go into a game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot for a cultural victory. I've said in previous videos that cultural victories are more difficult to achieve than science victories because if you focus on culture, most of the time, science you're at a deficit in science, and when you're at a deficit in science, because the military texts are based on science, you end up falling behind in your military text, and you're vulnerable to attack. And when, especially when you're playing AIs, if they figure out that you're vulnerable to attack, they do attack, and if they're ahead of you in military techs, you're definitely at a deficit. So the first thing we want to talk about is when does any game begin? Uh, every game that you play, whether it's against AIs or against live players, begins in the setup. So if you're playing an online game, you want to pay attention to how the game is set up. What's the map type? What's the map size? How many civilizations are there? I have this one set up as a Pangea map. The map size is large, but I've reduced the civilizations from 10 to 8 and the city-states from 14 down to 12. And the reason why I do that is it just gives a little bit more maps, a little bit more maps, empty map space for you to expand to. Difficulty level, I'm going to put it on King. Game pace is quick. And resources are abundant. And, whenever you go into any game, you want to, kind of pay attention to these because it'll change your the decisions that you need to make. Other than that, I got policy saving turned on, promotion saving turned on, random personalities, playing with barbarians, and I'm going to leave the combat on and the movement on. But that's just because I like watching the combats. Other than that, we'll go ahead and start the game.
Long life and
We'll have to
triumph.
wait and
First
see
consul and Emperor of France, Napoleon the First, ruler of
what the
French
computer
people.
gives us as a starting
France lies
position.
at the heart of Europe. Long has Paris been the world center of culture, arts, and letters. Although surrounded by competitors and often enemies, France has endured as a great nation. Its armies have marched triumphantly into battle from one end of the world to the other, its soldiers and generals among the best in history. Napoleon Bonaparte.
All right, so right away we can see that they've given us furs and whales, and no river. We can maybe, if we go to strategic, we could move there to get access to a river, but then we're landing on our furs. I think, based on what I see here, let's move him. Yeah, I think a really only real choice is to move there. We'll go back to that view. I like looking at it in strategic view just to make sure I'm. Cause sometimes the way the graphics are set up, sometimes it's difficult to see exactly what's going on. So I like to double check it in strategic, just to see make sure I know what I'm looking at. All right, choose production. We're gonna go with the typical scout start, because our opening strategy, especially in cultural, our opening strategy needs to be to meet as many civilizations and as many city-states as possible. Because in cultural, in order to win a cultural victory, you really need the help of city-states for sure. And by meeting as many civilizations as possible, you get slight advantages in technologies. Any civilizations that you've met, if you've met, say, all of the civilizations, as they research and accomplish technologies, the turns will decrease slightly in the technologies that everybody's researched. The more civilizations that research calendar, for example, it'll go down faster, and it'll be cheaper to gain that technology. So, our opening strategy right away has to be to meet as many civilizations and as many city-states as possible. With the city-states, we're hoping to meet and be able to gain alliances with cultural city-states, because when you do that, a cultural city-state will give you culture points. So that's our opening strategy, is to meet. Not to mention the fact that anytime you meet a city-state, they give you a gold, which is helpful. Your gold starts off low. All right, so right away we know that we have to get trapping fairly early in order to take advantage of those as our borders expand. We're also going to want to get masonry early, and trapping will help us with that as well. So animal husbandry, trapping, we got to do fairly early. Mining, masonry, we got to do fairly early. So we're going to start with, we'll go ahead and start with, I think I'm going to go mining masonry first. All right. Pretty much going to have to cross that river. Now I'm not going to go too far away with my warrior. I'm going to, do some early scouting with him, and then I'll bring him back, because in every game you're going to end up dealing with barbarians. Plus, I'm gonna want somebody to escort my settler when I get him. And I'm definitely going to still go with the 4-city national college strategy, just because there we go, we got a city-state right away. It's Helsinki, but he's maritime. Now maritime, if you get friendships or alliances with a maritime, they give you food. That's also not a bad thing. All right, so we got our second scout, or our first scout. So we're gonna work him up into the east. Go with the second scout. All right, so do I want to bring my warrior east or west? We're going to go west with the warrior. So we'll bring the warrior kind of up and around and then back, and then when we get our second scout, he'll go south and east, I guess. All right, so we get to adopt a policy. Now I'm going to go tradition. And now in Brave New World, they have it set up a little bit different. They have an aristocracy that's immediately available for the second pick, which gives you 15% production in wonders and +1 happiness for every 10 citizens. And then oligarchy is their second choice. Now, I don't know why they made that the second. You know, the tree in a Brave New World is, you know, two texts in the beginning, and then the rest of these texts, these 3 texts right here, are beneath oligarchy. Oligarchy in the very beginning of the game is kind of worthless. I don't know. Maybe that's why they did it. I don't know. Normally I choose this one last. But it's important to note that legalism is going to be the second one that I choose. It provides a free culture building in your first 4 cities. So the reason why I choose that one second is because I don't want to have to build monuments in my first 4 cities. So I'm definitely going to avoid building monuments. So now we've got 1 turn left for our scout. So we're going to move him up that way. And our second scout is done, so we'll get him moving down. And the next thing I'm going to build is going to be a worker so I can start improving tiles. Oh yeah, barbarian camps. Great. I don't really have any choice but to backtrack. That's unfortunate. But it is what it is. So we know we got a barbarian camp to deal with up there. We got mining. Then we're going to go for masonry next. And we'll have to bring him down that way. And because of that, because we had to deal with this barbarian camp now, my plans have changed a little bit. I'm going to send him off to the east. And because I know I'm bringing my warrior back up and around, I'm going to bring him down to the west. So all of your plans always have to be kind of flexible in the beginning, even in the mid game. You got to maintain some flexibility. All right, so bring him here. There's a barbarian camp there. Barbarians in the beginning are really a pain in the butt, but there are some good things about barbarian camps. They force you to have to build some military units early. And I say that's a good thing because if you don't build at least some military units, AIs will target you. So by having at least some kind of military, you prolong. The fewer military units you have in the beginning, the more prone you are to be attacked by AIs. And especially on king level and above, that's something you want to avoid. All right, so what I did was I decided to take one step up just to see what was up here. I kind of figured that this just simply came around. There could be a peninsula above here, but in all likelihood there's probably not. So what I'm going to do is, he's already got a spawned barbarian here, and against a scout, if I had 2 turns I might consider taking that, going for that ruin, but I'm going to have to come back for it later and hope that no AIs get it. So I'm going to back off from him, because I really don't want to deal with barbarians, pitting a scout against barbarians. That probably wouldn't end well. So with my scouts, I pretty much try to avoid dealing with barbarians. And work him back up towards the city. And use my scouts for scouting. City state is there. Now in the beginning, you notice that I haven't messed with the citizen management too much, because the reason why I haven't is because I want my citizens to get to 4 pop before I start building settlers. And the city manager usually does a pretty good job. Now I do have the option of manually controlling, but in the beginning I kind of feel like the city manager does a fairly decent job of that. So in the beginning, a lot of times I just leave it alone, and then looks like I'm going to end up forcing both of my scouts to go this way because of the way the land is shaped. All right, we'll get you up that way. Looks like maybe Gandhi here. We'll see in a minute. Let's go meet him. Oh, yep.
भारतीय
Gandhi.
जनता की ओर से मैं आपकी ओर दोस्ती
So we've met Gandhi. Alright, so we can get my second perk in the tradition tree. I have the choice between monarchy and landed elite. How many turns do I have left? Oh, I'm about ready to go into settlers right now. So, because I'm going to do settlers right now, I'm going to go ahead and do monarchy. I could get the landed elite, but I wouldn't get the, it gives you 10% growth and 2 food in the capital. Well, I'm going to build settlers, so 2 food in the capital doesn't really make a lot of sense. Because while you're building settlers, you're automatically stagnated. Alright, so we go through and turn on whatever production tile looks like is it's not going to make any difference one way or the other. At least not, well, maybe this one will. Yeah, that's the best we can do. Alright, so I'm going to go down one just to make sure there's no peninsula there. And then over. And then him, I'm just going to, I will actually put him on fortify instead. The difference between alert and fortify, if you put it on fortify, he will stand there at attention regardless of what happens around him. If you put him on alert, he will stand at attention until an enemy force comes close enough to essentially wake him up. Typically, I like to put him on fortify as opposed to alert because I don't want him to come out of attention. If he's attacked, I want him to have the best bonus possible. And when you fortify, the next round you get 20% bonus. The round after that you get 40% bonus. And I want that 40% if he's attacked. Not just 20%. If he comes out of alert because an enemy draws near and then is attacked and I put him back in either fortify or alert, he'll only have 20% as opposed to 40%. So I put him in fortify. Alright, now I've met Gandhi. I have two choices. I can, go off south of his borders or north of his borders. And I want to go north. So I move one just to see. I could either go here or here. I think I'm going to go there. And with my worker, I want to get him working on that stone. And that's why I picked I picked mining over trapping first. I could have pursued the technology to work these tiles first, but I knew that by the time I had a worker available to work tiles, I was going to be in settler mode. So I wanted the ability to work production first. Alright, so now that I have that done, I'm going to start toward the trapping. Go a little bit north. Now, it's unfortunate, but based on the way the map is laid out and because there's a ruin there, and I couldn't really get to it because of this barbarian encampment, it doesn't look like I'm going to get any ruins at all this game, which is really, really unfortunate because ruins in the beginning can be very, very helpful to you. So the game kind of screwed me in a sense. Go that way, I guess. Now I'm running in tandem with Gandhi, which makes that the possibility of getting ruins even more unlikely. So I'm gonna, instead of following along him, I'm gonna try to take a little bit different of a path. That way there's at least some chance of me getting a ruin. so do I want to go left of that mountain or right? I think I'm going to go right. And there's Gandhi again. And another city-state, so we're going to be the second to meet him.
Thou shalt not.
All right. We'll do trapping. There's Kuala Lumpur.
مرحبا أيها العجمي.
And we met Rashid. Alright, so I really don't want to deal with that barbarian anymore. I'm still gonna, I should have maybe went there, but there was another mountain there. He might die, which really sucks. Alright, so he's done there. I don't have trapping yet, so I can't go there. So I might as well do a farm before I do that. So can I get him away? Nope. That really, really sucks. That's why I don't like scouts against barbarians. Alright, so the first settler is done. Huh. The question is, where do we want to settle? And this game has not given us a lot of options here. So what we're looking for our second city is something approximately 7 tiles away, 6, 7, or 8 tiles away from our capital. So there's our capital there. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it looks like this is our only real choice for the second city. The good thing about that is, as far as I'm aware, there's, unless one spawned recently, there's no barbarian camps in this immediate vicinity. I'm still going to escort them. Choose production. We're going to go with another settler. Now, because our first scout was killed, the question is, do I want to go with that or that or that? I'm going to do landed elite now, even though I don't really get anything out of it right away. We're almost to the point to where we can settle our second city. Yeah, that doesn't really, landed elite doesn't really help us with that anyway. So I guess I'm just choosing landed elite because there's no other real choice anyway. And now we got a barbarian coming in. He can't get to our worker right away, but I need to make sure I stay very aware of what he's doing. Oh, he ran away. I'm gonna go straight down. We got Montezuma. Alright, so we've got another city-state over here. I'm gonna try to get to him before Montezuma does. I don't know if we'll get 30 gold out of that or only 15. Alright, so trapping is 3 turns away. So I'm gonna do my horses next. Oh, I forgot to go back in. Alright. Get that city settled.
Even brute beasts.
So we've got our second city settled. And right away we have to deal with barbarians. Alright, I'm going to cut this video off at about this point. We've got 2 cities settled. And barbarians are now going to be a huge issue. So I have no choice but to withdraw him, otherwise he would be captured on the next turn. I'm going to have to do another video because I want the first 4 cities covered. Developing the first 4 cities. So until next time, smash that like button.